Imagine leading so that no matter what crosses your path, whether it's a tough meeting, an unexpected change, or being given some critical feedback, you feel calm, confident, and grounded. You know who you are. You know how to respond, and you don't get pulled off course by pressure and self-doubt or fear. And that's possible when you build inner fitness. I've spent over 30 years in the corporate world, and I've seen that the most powerful leaders aren't the ones that are the loudest or the most qualified. They're the ones with the calmest hearts, the clearest minds, and the deepest presence. And that's what I want for you. Burnout continues to grow. A staggering 76% of employees experience burnout, at least occasionally. And in addition, a third of workers have a side hustle. Nowadays it's all about that, and it highlights the rising cost of living, and it also fuels our need to overwork, and all of this is contributing to burnout. And on top of that, recent data shows that 43% of women in leadership report burnout. And many say that their contributions to diversity, equity, and inclusion efforts go unnoticed in performance reviews. And now, add AI into the mix. It's reshaping roles and expectations at turbo speed, and the pressure to keep up can just feel relentless. And then there's the imposter story that so many of us carry around. Also known in the academic language as imposter syndrome. I prefer to call it an imposter story. And a KPMG study found that 75% of female executives across industries have experienced it. That hollow feeling of not belonging, even when everything suggests that you actually do. And in another study, over 60% of women report frequent or intense imposter experiences compared to only 49% of men. And it's a clear signal that roles get more complex, the voice of self-doubt just grows stronger. Imposter syndrome, or as I call it, imposter story, just fuels the burnout and affects your performance. And this is real, it's not just in your head. Does it sound familiar? I'll be honest with you, I've often felt not enough. There's so many moments in my career where I'd look around the room and thought that everyone else was smarter, sharper, and more deserving to be there. Comparing myself to others made me feel small. I would shrink back, I'd stay quiet, and I'd tell myself, don't speak up. You'll just embarrass yourself. That's the power of the imposter story. It convinces you that you don't belong, even when you clearly do. And it wasn't just self-doubt. I remember coming home from work, just utterly exhausted, and not just physically, but emotionally. I'd lie awake at night, just running through every conversation and second guessing myself and replaying what I should have said and should have done. And then I'll get up the next day and do it all over again, putting on a brave face while feeling completely drained inside. That's actually the double weight that so many women leaders carry around. The pressure to prove ourselves on the outside while inside we are just crumbling. And eventually I realized that I had a choice. Do I keep outsourcing my leadership to fear, to comparison, and burnout? Or do I try something different and start building the kind of strength that comes from within that no one can take away? Now, I began treating my leadership like a strength training. Not just for skills, but for my inner world, my mindset, my emotional regulation, and my sense of self. So instead of hiding my doubts, I named them. Journaling was the best way to put it out there in the comfort of my own room. And instead of reacting in the heat of the moment, stopped and I chose my response. And instead of isolating myself, I leaned into connection and connection with my team. And that's when things began to shift. Not because the challenges disappeared, but because I had built the inner fitness to hold steady in all of that. And that's how you can start building your inner fitness today through my GrowthEQ leadership model. So let me tell you about it. So shift number 1 is growth. And by strengthening your mindset. Inner fitness begins with mindset. Think of it like training your leadership muscles. You don't wait until you're in a crisis. You start before you need it. And your mindset doesn't just live in your head. It comes alive in the words you speak, both to yourself and to others. Every sentence you say is a declaration of what you believe about yourself, what you expect from others, and what you think is possible. Words are powerful. They carry energy, intention, and they influence. And in leadership, your language sets the emotional tone, both for you and for your team. And that's why developing a growth mindset means more than just thinking positive. It means becoming intentional with your language and conscious of the stories you're telling yourself, out loud and in your mind. The fastest strategy to build a growth mindset practice is reframe your limiting beliefs and create the growth mindset affirmations. They're really helpful, but they're not the be all and end all. And notice your everyday language. Now, shift number 2 is all about emotional intelligence and how you can strengthen it. Inner fitness only grows when you show up consistently. And it's not about doing it perfectly every day. It's about returning to your practice over and over until it becomes second nature. Because the strongest leaders don't just know what to do, they actually do it, even when life gets busy or messy. Here's how to build a sustainable inner fitness practice that you can stick with, even on your hardest days. So my suggestion is that you use the awareness triad of mindfulness, journaling, and reflection. These daily rituals help you see yourself clearly and manage your emotions, and you can grow from your experiences. Just 2 minutes of mindful breathing each morning lowers your stress and builds your presence. And write down what you're feeling and what triggered it. Emotions are your teacher. And it's really good to do it possibly in the evening where you reflect on your day and ask yourself, what went well? What challenged me? What did I learn about myself? That's where the wisdom comes. Link these practices to something you already do, like sipping coffee or brushing your teeth, so that they become automatic. Now, shift number 3, leadership with love. This is where growth and EQ translate into leadership presence. In the GrowthEQ leadership model, love isn't soft, it's strategic. It's the leadership edge that today's world is just crying out for. At the heart of GrowthEQ is the inner fitness to lead with emotional intelligence and a growth mindset and purpose. And the leadership part of GrowthEQ is the love framework of listening, openness, values, and empathy. Leaders who truly listen don't just wait for their turn to speak. They lean in and they ask questions and they make people feel heard. When you practice active listening, you're not only gathering information, you're giving the other person the gift of being understood. And here's the secret. When people feel understood, they trust you. They'll follow you not because of your title, but because they know you see them. Openness is about dropping the mask of perfection It's saying, I don't have all the answers, and that's okay. Vulnerability doesn't make you weak, it makes you relatable. Transparency builds credibility because people respect honesty far more than a polished spin. When you're willing to admit challenges or share your own learning curve, you give others permission to do the same. And that's how you create psychological safety in your teams and the kind of environment where innovation and bold ideas just come alive. And values are your compass. They're what keep you grounded when there's so much change around and there's a pressure that just overtakes you. So when you anchor your decisions in values, you not only stand firm in who you are, but you also inspire others to align with a greater purpose. And shared values create unity. They turn a group of individuals into a team with a mission. And in a world of constant disruption, people don't just want a paycheck. They want to know that they're part of something that matters. And then there's empathy. It's at the heart of influence. It's about understanding what others feel and showing them that their experience matters. But empathy doesn't stop at understanding. It moves into service. As a leader, your role isn't to stand above your team. It's to stand with them and for them, to lift them higher, to create the conditions for them to succeed. And when you combine empathy with service, that just transforms your leadership from authority into impact. And when you put it all together, the listening, the openness, the values and empathy, you create a style of leadership that people want to follow, not because they have to, but because they choose to. That's love in leadership. And in a world where AI can automate pretty much almost anything, everything else, love is the one thing it can never replicate. Today, I no longer walk into rooms wondering if I belong. I know my presence, my heart, and my resilience. And that's the leadership edge that honestly matters the most. And it's possible for you too. Because no matter how fast technology moves, inner fitness means you can hold steady and speak with confidence and lead with impact. Here's my invitation to you. Stop outsourcing your leadership to the pressure and the pace of this new, fast AI world. Start building your inner fitness. One mindful breath, one journal entry, one reflection at a time. Because AI can replace tasks, but it can never replace you, your heart, your courage, your presence. And that's the leadership edge the future needs, and it starts within you. Subscribe to my YouTube channel and I'll show you how inner fitness translates into hard results. How you can take everything you've built inside and turn it into influence and presence and power in this age of AI. Share this with another woman who needs it, and let's grow together. Confident, future-ready, and unstoppable. The time for empowered leadership is now, and if not now, when?